Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield has now changed its policies where it will not pay for the full duration of anesthesia.
Well, given that news and the recent unaliving of the United Healthcare CEO, which is a Minnesota-based healthcare company, so I'm very familiar with it, I think it's a really good time to circle back to one of my original viral story times, which I talked about my job at a Minnesota healthcare-based company and all the truly horrific and questionable things I saw from the management, the way they treated all the employees, the CEO as well. It was truly one of the most toxic environments I'd ever seen in my life. Now, for legal reasons, I'm not going to say exactly which company I worked for. I worked in one of the customer-facing companies. It was crazy. The environment was so toxic all the time. It was like working for a supervillain. I worked in the marketing department, but it was so poorly managed that a lot of times we would handle HR-related stuff and whatnot, so we kind of had access to everything, and the stuff I saw, the working conditions alone, don't even get me started. Not only were we underpaid and overworked, right? Like sometimes they would try and have us work events on weekends and whatnot and then cut our hours randomly during the week so that they didn't have to pay us overtime. But not only did they finally get to the point where they had so many of us marketing people in one office, yes, they were cramming like 5 or 6 of us into a singular person's office, but eventually this got to be too much, right? So they decided to remodel the basement, as they called it, which was technically kind of just like a shed attached to the outside of the building. So to get there in the winter time, you would have to go out and then come back in, because it wasn't actually connected to the building and they remodeled it poorly, so it wasn't well insulated, which you got it in the middle of winter in Minnesota. It was never really heated properly. Don't worry, it gets worse. They also didn't buy enough desks for everyone. I didn't have my own desk. They got me a little laptop and a bar stool. So I sat on a bar stool every day and went to work. We were all getting paid close to nothing, of course, while the CEO was running around buying a bunch of random garbage constantly for the company that literally no one asked for, like I believe like a pinball machine. Or one of the days that truly broke my spirits the most is when I discovered they paid like $250,000 or $500,000 for like a single brand deal to promote the company. That was when I discovered, oh, we actually do have the money to be paying all of our employees. We just don't prioritize paying the employees. I didn't deal with the CEO very frequently, right? My boss usually dealt with him, but the stories I heard about that man, scary, you don't want to be interacting with that man. But I remember one day he came in bragging that he bought a company cabin vacation home and a company boat. And I was so confused because I was like, why does the company need a boat? This sounds like tax write-offs for your family has a boat now. And at a certain point, there were so many things like this that had me concerned and confused about the company that I realized I had started asking too many questions. But everything that my boss messed up in our department, she would file under my fault and turn into HR. Shortly after, I finally couldn't take it anymore because my boss was making me cry multiple times a week at work. So I eventually gave up and quit. She was later looked into and also released from the company. But healthcare companies are really a breeding ground for narcissism, right? Because they get to project this outward image of like, oh, we're so great and we're helping people and we care about you. But they really don't. At the end of the day, it's about maximizing profits to the point where they don't even care about their own internal employees.